listening to the 23 Personnel Podcast, a Texas Tech athletics podcast where food and sports clash at the goal line. Here are your hosts, Spencer and Michael.
All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the 23 Personnel Podcast. I'm your host, Spencer, joined by Michael. Michael, what's up, man?
I am ready to go 1-0 yet again.
Every week.
That's the mantra here on the 23 Personnel Podcast. Has nothing to do with Joey McGuire. That's something we came up with all on our own. Complete lie, total fabrication. Don't believe that. Yes, let's go 1-0. Let's go 4-0. Let's win a road Big 12 game in our opener.
Let's win the whole dang thing.
Looking forward to it.
We will talk about that matchup this weekend. Obviously, that's going to be the main part of our episode tonight. We're going to recap the Oregon State game a little more in depth than probably what we normally would do because we didn't get Michael's thoughts Saturday evening following that one. We'll recap that one, give a look around the rest of the Big 12, preview the Utes, get your thoughts, get your previews and predictions, check out the rest of the games this weekend, questions, what do we learn, all of the above. Michael, let me ask you this. You obviously were not on the instant reaction on Saturday night. I did it probably not any faster with it just being me. I probably rambled twice as much. Let me get your just initial thoughts on the game Saturday night. What you thought about how Texas Tech looked against Oregon State, the win, how the offense, defense, all that kind of stuff. I just want to hear your thoughts. I need them.
I was pretty blown away. We were out of town. I'm still out of town. And that afternoon, I had the chance to actually sit down and watch the game before it was delayed 2.5 hours. But then I still got to just sit down and watch it. So I've been pretty busy since then, so I don't have a lot of clean, crisp notes that I should have taken. But the thing that I think impressed me the most, aside from just how dominating that win was, when we made our predictions the week before, I said something along the lines of, this might start out, Texas Tech may only be up, one score, maybe two at halftime, but then I think Texas Tech is going to run away with it. And the exact opposite happened. Texas Tech just blew the doors off from the get-go, and it was really never in question. It was kind of, I think that 2.5 hour delay was the only time that it felt in question, just because you left on a 3rd and 1. You weren't really sure if the mojo in the stadium was going to come back because it sounded like that was really rocking. It never really did, but it didn't need to. So, I mean, I think what you said regarding how well the defense played, how well the running backs played, Morton seemed perfectly fine. I just was so impressed with him again in all phases of the game. And I think the main thing I wanted to add to what you said in the instant reaction was just credit to this coaching staff for having these guys ready to go after yet another weather delay. Now, the first weather delay was at 48-0 versus Pine Bluff at halftime. So, okay. But this was a scoreless game a couple minutes in, 3rd and 1. 2.5 hours later, they come back out, convert on the first play. They get 3 yards. Then the next play is a 32-yard touchdown pass to Caleb Douglas. So these guys, everybody in that locker room is ready to play some football, and I was just so impressed by that. We've seen that type of thing go the other way, or with previous staffs, you could almost count on it going the other way if there was a similar situation where you had such a delay. But with this staff and these players, no chance. And I think that's what we're seeing. And I would add that as a kind of a feather in their cap for this week. I know that they have obviously not been on the road, but the weather delay, I mean, I'm going to call that a bit of adversity. It's not the same as playing on the road, but it is a challenge that's unexpected. And I think the coaches are just up for whatever it takes to get these guys. And gosh, Oregon State, that the QB hurries you mentioned, the sacks, the pressure on the quarterback, just week 3 of having a quarterback, just an absolute hell back there. And
Yeah.
not to be a masochist, but I love to see it.
Yeah, I didn't consider it till I thought like just more on it throughout the week, or, Sunday and Monday, just how disruptive a weather delay could be, because you don't know how long it's going to be. I saw this video from a former collegiate athletic dietitian. I don't even know how I got under her video, but she was talking about like weather delays, and I guess she used to work for Boston College. She's like, it's a completely different animal if it's like a 20 or 30-minute thing where like you just have to get some carbs in these guys to keep their energy up, versus like if it continues to go, like they almost have to eat like another meal. And at 2.5 hours, like you have to, be prepared to feed 100 people food to keep them energized up for something as grueling as a college football game. And they came out 2.5 hours later, like they never stepped off the field. They convert the 3rd and 1 run, and then Morton drops that dime to Aiken, and like it's off to the races. Like watching the highlight video, like if there were any highlights from before the weather delay, and there wasn't really any video you watch, there's no difference from the first, I guess that was 6-7 plays. You got the kickoff. Oregon State had a 3-and-out plus a punt. Texas Tech ran 2 plays, and then lightning. And then for the next, 2.5 hours, obviously in the locker rooms, and then come out and do that, and then run off to a 45-14 victory. Michael again with an impressively close prediction. So I would pay attention to what he says at the end of this preview episode, because he chose Texas Tech winning 45-20. Texas Tech obviously ends up winning 45-14. I said 52-17. I was giving them a lot more credit, I guess. 17 points. Oregon State didn't score, points until you had pulled your first team defense. They were still rolling their first team offense. And even then, the last touchdown they scored was a conversion on 4th and 12.
That's right. And thanks for the correction there without burying me too bad. Yeah, that first touchdown after the rain delay was to Aiken. I had Douglas in my notes there. That was wrong. You got it though.
You were supremely efficient on 3rd down, and then you held Oregon State to a very paltry conversion percentage themselves. This first play wasn't even 3rd down, but like you faced a lot of long conversions. Like you had 1st and 35, you converted that on 1st down. It was on 1st down. You had 2 back-to-back penalties there. You had a Jacoby Williams pass underneath that, he made people miss. He picked up 35 or 36 yards on 1st down. 3rd and 26. Man, I loved everything about this. This was the Jacoby Williams touchdown. Michael, I don't know how many times you watched this play. I watched it several times, even today. One, it was a 2-back set. Loved that. The blocking was just immaculate. Terrence Carter, from the jump, blew up a dude, then ran downfield to throw another block. Howard Sampson was head in a swivel, head hunting, looking for somebody, and then just obliterates a dude near the goal line. Jados blows his man off the sideline into the kicking warm-up nets. You see other linemen like running on the field, like looking left and right, who do I block for like 20 yards, trying to find somebody. Caleb Douglas locked his man up and drove him down the field 15 yards, like just locked him up and like blindsided him, took him 15 yards down the field. I mean, it was just everything about that play was just fantastic.
Yeah, those are the type of plays we're usually on the other side of. Those are the ones that you've. I remember one of your correct pet peeves over the last few years was, why are we running 9-yard routes when we need 10 yards? You know, it's 3rd and 8, and we ran a 7-yard out, or we ran a 7-yard drag, or whatever it is. And this was the exact opposite of that, but with a handoff. I mean, yes, Tech has been on the opposite side of this many times. On a 3rd and long, you think, oh man, we're finally going to get them. I mean, there's no way they're going to get it on a 3rd and 26. Oops.
Yeah, and then like it's one of those things like as it develops first, you're like, well, we're just you think like maybe we're just trying to pick up a handful of yards and see what happens, and then we'll kind of go from there. You know, if we pick up enough yards, then we'll go for it. If not, we'll just settle for points, whatever. Same thing with this next play I want to talk about. It's 3rd and 22. It was a fake screen, like a quick, pump out to the left to Williams. Terrence Carter was on that side of the field, cuts back in for a middle screen. You got the middle 3 interior offensive linemen release and start running downfield. Same thing. They're looking for somebody to block, and they don't catch anybody. Part of it is that they whiff a couple guys. TC had to make a couple guys miss. Aiken just locked his defender up. He was the next outside guy on that left side. He kept his guy from being able to come and make a play. Like I said, TC made enough guys miss where he got down, very nearly scored on that play, but picked up the first down on 3rd and 22 on a pass that was completed behind the line of scrimmage. He picked up 25 yards on his own. It was just, had that play picked up 3 yards, I would have been like, what are we doing? But like, you picked up a 1st and 35, a 3rd and 26, a 3rd and 22. And then there were a couple plays also where like, it was like a 3rd and long-ish, and you ran the ball, and either you picked up a chunk of yards enough to set you up for a conversion on 4th down or an attempt on 4th down, or you converted that too. Overall, you finished 9 of 15 on the day, 60% conversion percentage, an average distance to go of almost 9 yards. But you still converted 60% of those.
That was where I was going to go next. So as great as those were to see, to be a negative Nancy about it, should we be worried that there were so many long down and distances?
No.
Okay.
I don't have stat broadcasts. I was going to pull it up and see how many first down conversions you had, but like, granted, a lot of your 3rd down conversions were 3rd and shorts. You had 8 1 to 4 yard attempts on 3rd down. You were 7 of 8 on those. So you needed 4 yards or less. You picked up 4 yards or more 7 times. 3rd and long of 9+ yards, you had 5 of those. You converted 2. I don't know what the average is. I think 2 of 5 on 9+ yards on 3rd down. It's pretty good. And those were 26 and 22 yards, which we talked about a lot just a minute ago. I know last week in the post game and the instant reaction versus Kent State, I said something looked off with Baron Morton. He didn't look off against Oregon State. I don't know if it was his leg that was still kind of bothering him, if he was unsure, or if there was something mental going on. Whatever that was gone.
He may have looked off a defender or two.
Yeah,
he himself did not look off.
Yeah. I loved seeing Williams' involvement in the passing game. Not just the screens. Like he was just, his playmaking ability was just otherworldly. I don't know how else to describe it. It was just like, I know you're trying to probably reduce his action in the passing game without Joyner being available, because you need him in the backfield. But you may not be able to play without him in the passing game. Maybe that means you get Roy Alexander involved a little bit more too, and that kind of role. But man, his passing game presence this past weekend was fantastic. And if that was a matchup thing versus Oregon State, or if it was starting to expand on the offense and playbook calling, all that kind of stuff, I want more of it. Speaking of what I want more of, Michael, Terrence Carter. Oh my goodness. Like, we thought he was going to be a problem with his athleticism. I thought he was going to be a decent receiving tight end. His yards after catch at Louisiana wasn't a fluke. He is grading out to be one of your best run blockers too. So you're getting to the point where, like, yes, John Carlos Miller is available. Obviously can catch with that one hand catch up the sideline.
He almost had 2 one-handers. That other one just slipped right out. He was right there.
But Terrence Carter's like, yeah, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see the field.
It's pretty good. 1-2, 1-3 punch, whatever that is.
Yeah, we've been talking about it just with Mac Leftwich and him being new here, but like big plays this past weekend, you had 18 of them for 436 yards. So vast majority of your offense on the day, 436 of what the 600 you amassed came on 18 plays. Which sounds like, man, that I wish we were not as reliant on the big play, but 18, that's what one of every 4 plays. It's not like you hit 4 big plays and picked up, 300 yards. Like, well, that's not sustainable. I mean, 18 of 80, whatever it was, it's 1 in 4, 1 in 5 realm.
Shoot. Yeah, and those 18 plays average out to 24 yards per play, and this is something that Leftwich had mentioned, and that McGuire had mentioned, and that everybody had been talking about in the offseason, is being more aggressive and going for the big play. And we're seeing it early. Of course, we should see that type of thing early, but I mean, they're being successful with it. They're being smart with it, and they really have some incredible playmakers to make this keep happening.
Yeah. Last couple of points on the offense before I want to talk about the defense really quick. I found this on the Stat Broadcast, so if y'all want to dive into that as well in your post game reviews of these things, but rushing success rate was 51%. That's percentage of successful rushes on yards needed, adjusted for down. Between 40 and 50 is average. So above 50 or 50 and higher is above average. Anything below 40 is below average. Rushing success rate was 51. So in a game where you didn't really feel like it was a great running game, this just goes to show you, like, it's just sneaky. It's a great complement to what you're doing through the air. You're keeping the defense guessing enough to pick up yards on the ground successfully when you need them, and then also burn them deep through the air. And then overall, your offensive success rate was 43. So average. Defensively, Michael, Bryce Pollock named your Big 12 Defensive Player of the Week. Marks the second straight week that a Texas Tech player has received this recognition. Couldn't tell you the last time that's happened, but I'm sure it's been a long, long time. I know this goes with the territory of throwing a shutout through the first 55 minutes of the game, but this drive chart is just it's surreal almost. Punt, 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 field goal attempt, interception, punt, punt, into half. Interception, punt, punt, put the second teamers backups in, touchdown, touchdown. And I'm not even counting how many of those punts were 3 and outs. The first 3 were 3 and outs. I think the field goal attempt was like 5 or 6 yards. The interception, that was only a couple of plays. Like, it was just your defense kept them from gaining any momentum until the very end when you had subbed everybody out and you were up 45-0.
Yeah, of those drives you mentioned, I'll just echo the number of plays. 3, 3, 3, 10. That was the field goal attempt. 4 was the interception. 3, 9, then a punt. 9, then half. 8, then an interception. Ooh, that hurts.
You get going and then you throw a pick.
And then 3, and then 4. And so of all the 3 and outs that they accumulated, I mean, I've used the word demoralizing quite a bit this year when we talk about our defense, but I think that's what we're looking at. Of those 3 and outs, those drives resulted in a net gain of -4 yards, 0, 6, 2, and -1. Yikes.
And that's I was trying to do the math really quickly. It's less than 5 yards combined for all of those drives.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's 3. 5 drives, 3 yards. 5 punts.
5 punts, 5 yards gained. And even then, like, I know that Oregon State had some issues with their long snappers and getting punts off, but like they couldn't even get a good punt kicked. I think Murphy was their best punter.
Yeah, he was.
Which is like, it's strange. Like if your problem is the long snapper, the deep snapper, like why can't your punter still kick? I don't know. It was
actually really close. So Windsor averaged 40 yards per punt and Murphy averaged 35. So really, once you factor in the handicap of that's your quarterback, yeah, he absolutely outpunted Windsor. That's for sure.
Yeah. The defensive line packages. I want to take a second to talk about that. One, there's a big boy package, which I think we'll probably see a lot of this weekend versus Utah. We saw it on the thick 6 last weekend, and we got the first glimpse of it. But you sub off David Bailey, and you've got Romello Height, Lee Hunter, Skylar Gill Howard, and Anthony Holmes. That's nasty. You've got thickness across the board, and even height is a big boy. Like he's pretty. He's dude. He's a big dude. And then Rob Bro mentioned this. I caught it for a second, but I forgot it until like he said it. So I forgot to even mention it. And one, it didn't even, it ended up, the play didn't even count because the offensive line had a false start. But then there was a 3rd and long, and you have this like defensive line sub that package that comes in, and it was Romello Height, SGH, David Bailey, and Terrell Tillman. So you've got 3 defensive ends and then a freak athletic at defensive tackle. But David Bailey and Tillman stood next to each other over the left tackle, and the left tackle flinched and got called for the false start.
I mean, who wouldn't? Who can blame him?
It's like,
Guys.
Which one of these guys would help? Which guy
What
do
do
I
I do?
take? Let me just reset this thing, and we'll see if the defense changes. On the flip side, again, big plays. Most of these came late. They put together 7 big plays. Like I said, you on offense, you put together 18, but their 7 big plays totaled 175 yards. Your 18 big plays accounted for 436. They put together a rushing success rate of 16%. This was an offense that wanted to run the ball, didn't. Overall offensive success rate of 18%. It's fantastic to see. Now, penalty wise, I would love to see that get cleaned up a little bit. You had 7 on offense. 3 of them were holds, 2 false starts, an intentional grounding, and a personal foul. That personal foul was on Howard Sampson. I actually kind of was okay with that one. Late hit on a pile, essentially. The intentional grounding. So that play and then the pick, I think, were 2 where you saw Morton get sped up and just out of his element. I think more because he hasn't faced it yet. I think some of that will come. That will calm down a little bit. The holding, we got to get that cleaned up. The false starts obviously have to stop. And then obviously we talked about how good you were at converting the 3rd and longs. Still, you need to be not put yourself into those situations where you have to pick up a 3rd, a 1st and 35 or a 3rd and 26 or 3rd and 22. And then you only committed 3 penalties on defense. David Bailey got called for a personal foul as a hit on the quarterback, and then 2 offsides. A little too amped up to get to the quarterback. But none on special teams, which I thought was good to see. Not that he had a whole lot of, opportunities to return kicks. I guess you had 3. You had a half and then 2 touchdowns. But any other thoughts from the game, Michael, that we want to touch on before we get to this week's?
Not that you probably haven't already covered, aside from just some superfluous praise of how this feels right now. And I'm hoping that this still feels this good next week. But man, I was thoroughly impressed with this. I did come in to this thinking that Oregon State was probably better than they had looked the last couple of weeks, but now I'm not so sure. And, Texas Tech lost on the road to the only other Pac-12 team in existence just last year. So we can't really bemoan ourselves too much about the quote-unquote quality of this Power 5 maybe opponent. But it is a traditional Power 5 team, only 2 years removed from being able to call themselves as such. And it was as all-encompassing of a soul-crushing win that I've seen in quite some time against a team at that level. So that's great. Let's talk Utah.
You want to talk? You want to talk about the results from this past weekend, or?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we can do that. Let's see.
I touched on scores at the very end, but I had no analysis or no context. I didn't watch any of the games. So
yeah,
if you did, you can add anything in. But
I didn't see a whole lot. I didn't get to see that much either. The one I was most interested in getting to see was the Utah game, but of course, the hotel I'm at did not have CBS Sports, and I was unable to log into anything to watch it really. So I missed that. I know that was a slow start, and we'll talk more about that later. I did watch quite a bit of Texas State at Arizona State, or at least the beginning of it.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing too groundbreaking there. I didn't get to see as much of the Friday night games as I wanted, but Houston, we may have a problem because they look. I don't know, man. I mean,
I think it's more Colorado. Like, yes, Houston's improved. I think
they're 3-0 for the first time in almost a decade.
I also think Colorado's bad.
Well, sure. I don't think they're very good either, but Houston, it's not like they're winning these by a last second field goal. They're just pretty much taking over. It was close at half, and then they just stretched it in the second half. So I think we're already
Let me just say,
the
I'm not
Fritz
worried
hire
about.
is already paying some dividends for the 7 Cougar fans in existence,
Yeah.
and I'm sure they're really excited about it. Once they learn that their basketball school plays football, they're going to be really excited to know that they're 3-0. But I do worry about that one a little bit. I'm keeping an eye out on them.
No.
Kansas State, loved seeing them lose. They did not look good. It's like Avery Johnson's been told not to throw the football, or
I wonder who is,
told not to run it. Told not to run it.
I wonder who that offensive coordinator is.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on there. So yeah, just the other games, I really didn't get to watch any of the other ones. I watched a little bit of Pitt at West Virginia. That was a heck of a win, and happy for our Mountaineer brethren there, but no real analysis on that one. It's hard to tell who's any good in that game because it's just always going to be a dog fight, rock fight, whatever fight you want to call it.
So something we neglected to touch on is that they actually lost their best running back last week, Raheem White.
Oh man, I didn't even know that.
Which I'm not even, like, I said that name, I'm like, I'm not even convinced that was the right name. But their number one running back went down for the season before this game.
It was kind of comforting to see Iowa State struggle on the road at Arkansas State. I believe it was within a field goal in the fourth quarter before Iowa State took it over and won 24-16.
They pulled away and won by 8.
Yeah, did not quite reach that 21-point spread. The only other ones I wanted to touch on was I feel a little validated on pointing this one out. So Clemson went to Georgia Tech. Clemson was ranked, who knows what, I don't even remember. Georgia Tech won that game. That was one of the notable games I wanted to pay attention to because I felt that Clemson was just getting the don't you know who I am kind of ranking at that point, and Georgia Tech had actually won some games on the road, or at least won one in Boulder. So I felt pretty good about them, and lo and behold, that worked out. That Georgia-Tennessee game, I didn't get to see a second of it, but it sounds incredible. I sympathize with the Volunteers. I think that's 8 in a row they've lost to Georgia on a field goal in overtime. My gosh, that stinks. USF, oops, going down 49-12 at Miami. I thought that would be a little closer. Miami might be really good. Arkansas at Ole Miss, didn't get to watch any of that. Ole Miss squeaks it out 41-35. But I did get to watch quite a bit of A&M at Notre Dame. What a crazy fourth quarter. A&M returns the kickoff that would have put them up or tied the game 40-40. Gets called back on a obvious yet painful hold. But it almost works out better.
Painful for who, Michael?
Well, painful for the Aggies.
Okay.
For the fans. Not so much a player. But it gets called back. I think there were 2.5 minutes left. It was less than 3. So it's almost a blessing in disguise because then A&M, they would have just handed the ball back to Notre Dame, potentially up 41-40, and Notre Dame would have had 2.5 minutes or whatever to kick a field goal. So it kind of worked out better. So they drained the clock all the way down to, I forgot what it was, 9 seconds or something. I think I'm getting it confused with the Houston Tampa Bay game last night, but they cut the clock down really low before they scored. And so I think Notre Dame just was able to run one play after the kickoff. But yeah, what got them to that 40, and I don't know if you knew this, but you may have already said it, but Notre Dame missed the extra point. So they missed that extra point in fourth quarter. It should have been 41-41. but it was a high snap. It was a bad snap. No, that's not true. I think the snap was fine. The holder just biffed it and picked it up and tried to do something. And anyway, they were not able to convert the extra point. Aggies won, and Notre Dame, I'm getting ahead of myself here, has yet to win a football game. But what if I told you that they were ranked in both the coaches and the top 25 poll? Would you believe that?
Yeah.
What if I told you this? What if I told you? I'll just cut to the chase. Not only are they ranked in both the AP poll and the coaches poll, they're ranked higher in the coaches poll. They are. Let's see. Did I put it in there? Oh, I didn't even write it down. But they are ranked in the coaches poll. I remember that. I think they're 21. And in the AP poll, they're 24. So 0-2 Notre Dame, LOL, is in between two 3-0 teams in the AP poll. Make it make sense. They just lost a game at home to a team that folds like a tent 99 times out of 100 in a situation like that. They lost the game at home to the fighting Texas Aggies.
Hate to see it,
but that's, I guess that's good enough. That's good enough to stay in the top 25. So I would love to see, and I'm sure it's happened before, and I'm sure other people are talking about it. I've really been kind of disconnected this week, but I would just love to see any other 0-2 teams that are in the top 24 or the top 25, just in general. In week 3, week 4.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of voters just trying to justify their preseason thoughts, or they just don't actually know what they're doing. I know that there's that one voter that, when questioned about why she had a team picked where they were, was actually then defending a different team, like she got them confused. It's like, wait a minute, you put Team A up at this one spot, but she was using like Team B's resume to justify it. Like, but those are 2 different teams. These people have votes in the AP poll, which again just means this thing is just pointless right now. It's useless.
Oh yeah. So speaking of AP poll, here's the quick update as far as I've already made my rant about Notre Dame. So as far as how it relates to the Big 12, nothing really shocking this week. We saw Iowa State move from 14 to 12. Nothing they did was super impressive, I don't think, on the road in Arkansas State, but teams ahead of them lost, and there you go. Utah took care of business eventually in Wyoming, so they moved from 20 to 16. Texas Tech moved right there with them from 21 to 17. Receiving votes were BCU. Oh my gosh, I combined these two. BYU, TCU, Arizona State, and Baylor. And then in the coaches poll, very similar. Utah State moved from 14 to 13. Texas Tech moved from 20 to 16. We're actually ahead of Utah in this poll. Utah went from 21 to 18. BYU, unfortunately, got kicked out. They were 25 last week. But the coaches poll, and I think rightfully so, had to do some shuffling around to make some room for previously unranked 4 unranked teams show up in the coaches poll. And it was Georgia Tech, Mizzou, Vandy, and Auburn, all with perfect records and big wins this weekend.
Just got hit with a wave of yawns. Sorry. All right. Not that it has anything to do with what you're talking about, Michael.
Sure. Thanks.
Let's jump into the preview, man. We're getting ready to go on the road. First time this season, take on the Utah Utes. I've been waiting on this one for about 45 minutes now. Not really. 38 minutes. We're 40 minutes into the stream. 38 minutes. Let's go. Did y'all know that Rice Eclair Stadium is loud?
Thanks, Haley.
We had heard that. We had heard that McGuire is practicing indoors with a lot of simulated crowd noise. But yeah, apparently that stadium is supposed to be loud. S&P, if that's your advanced rankings of choice, has this as a top 15 matchup. Texas Tech 12th, moved down from 11th last week to 12, versus the number 15 Utah Utes. It is obviously the big noon kickoff on Fox. I forget what the weather is like in Utah. They have a high of 74. Clear. It's like, man, that's fall weather for you. Led by head coach Kyle Whittingham's in the 21st year as the head coach there at Utah. Supposed to have retired last season, but decided he couldn't go out on 5-7. Predicted to compete for a conference title and a conference that the team and fans felt they were too good for, to then go 5-7. Now getting that same kind of treatment. So we'll see how this season works out for him. This is a predictive measure, but just updates on the home versus away. Texas Tech is it's a predicted 59th best road team. Again, I'm not sure how they're predicting that, since Texas Tech has not played on the road, versus Utah, number 15 home team. Mentioned last season they went 5-7. They won their first 4, lost their next 7, and then won the last game. So their wins last season were Southern Utah, Baylor, Utah State, Oklahoma State, and UCF. You look at those wins, probably Baylor would be the most impressive win, considering where they ended the season, but not how they started the season. Baylor was not good at the beginning of the season. And then obviously lost to Arizona, Arizona State, TCU, Houston, BYU, Colorado, and Iowa State. So far, they are also undefeated this season versus UCLA, which is they're bad. They're just bad. Cal Poly, and not your dad's Wyoming. It's not the same team.
Not Tyler Sheck's Wyoming.
They were quite a bit slow coming out of the gate on that one. Missed a handful of kicks early on.
Hey, little guy.
I'm sorry about your finger, buddy. Go back to bed.
Batman just came in.
Yeah.
If y'all didn't get to watch that, you missed Batman.
I'm Batman. That little dude's birthday's on Friday, so he's about
That's
to turn
awesome.
5.
5? He's 5? Yeah.
5. He will be 5. Yeah, so they had a rough go of it. Slow start. Eventually pulled away there towards the end. Could have been a lot better had they, made their kicks, but also if you're putting the game in the hands of college kickers, it's kind of on you. I say that though. Our own kicking game has been. Why are we still in a kicking competition, Michael? Why are we still trotting out there 3 different guys?
That's one of my biggest questions right now. I don't know.
Penalties, again, got to clean those up. 2 very different teams in this aspect. Texas Tech has 24 total penalties. It's tied for 115th. Utah has only 10 through 3 games. That's tied for 40th. Offensively, when the Utes have the ball, they are the 35th S&P plus offense versus the number 40 Texas Tech defense. So offense, defense here, both matchups, they're so similar in terms of their rankings. Offensive coordinator Jason Beck is in his first season there in Salt Lake, runs a multiple run-heavy fit, led on the field by Devin Dampier. Coming into the season, I was like, he was able to do some pretty incredible things at New Mexico. I had questions about whether or not it was going to translate. 3 games in, it's translating.
Oh yeah, I was right there with you, Spencer. Man, I think even last week, I was still on the doubter hater train. But then yeah, I've since watched some tape, and 205 I think is underestimating. I mean, I feel like this guy's like 215 at least. He's a big dude. And I know you're going to get to it, but he's tough to bring down.
Yeah. Through the air. So one of the biggest questions and knocks he had from last season was he was like a 1-to-1 touchdown interception. He's completing 73% of his passes for 630 yards, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions, just a hair over 7 yards per attempt, which is average. Not great, not explosive, but not dink and dunk. He's adding 33 carries on the ground for another 198 net yards, 6 yards per carry. It's in a touchdown. So those numbers last season at New Mexico, he was completing 58% of his passes. There's a 15% increase there so far this season. Remember, same OC. So this is an upgrade for his talent and those around him. He passed for 2,800 yards. He's well on pace to break that or pass that. He was 12 touchdowns and 12 interceptions last year, also 7.1 yards per attempt. So the yards per attempt hasn't really changed. Not like he's, all that much more explosive this season than last season. Last year, he ran 155 times for almost 1,200 yards and 19 touchdowns at 7.5 yards per carry. Those numbers are trending a little bit more conservatively.
Sure.
But I think
because
that also
7.5 is ridiculous.
I think that also has to deal with like they're just more around him. It doesn't have to be the Devin Dampier show.
Right.
He's
probably he's probably still capable, but like you said, he's probably they're taking the ball out of his hands every now and then because he doesn't absolutely have to.
Yeah. Through 3 games, he is the team's leading rusher. The other running backs you need to be aware of: Naquari Rogers. He's 5'10", 205 senior. He's got 36 carries for 152 yards. So not that far behind. He's got a handful more carries than Dampier, but about 46 fewer yards, 4.2 yards per carry, but 4 touchdowns. And then the other guy you should be aware of, Wayshawn Parker, is 5'10", 205 transfer, so almost identical in size to Devin Dampier. He transferred in from Washington State, and he did play against Texas Tech last season. In that game, he had 11 carries for 69 yards, 6.3 yards per carry and a touchdown. So far for the Utes, Parker has 27 carries, 192 yards, 7.1 yards per carry, and 2 more touchdowns. So it's a pretty potent 3-man front on the ground game there between Dampier, Rogers, and Parker. When the ball goes in the air, it's going to Ryan Davis. So far in the season, he's got 19 catches for 171 yards. He's a senior, 9 yards per catch and a touchdown. Other guys to be aware of, tight end Dallin Bentley, 11 catches, 112 yards, 10.2 yards per catch and 2 touchdowns. And the next leading receiver is listed as a cornerback. He has 10 catches on the season. 6 of them came against UCLA. So I don't know how much that's going to continue, but basically it's Ryan Davis, some to Bentley, and then it's going to be on the ground. Offensively, they are really good at converting third downs. They are second in the country on third down conversion at more than 71%. What this tells me is that they're really, really good on early downs, first and second downs, at picking up yards to make third and manageables, third and shorts, or just not getting to third down very often. They've attempted 3 fourth down conversions and converted all 3 of those. So when you combine their third and fourth down conversions, they're looking at almost 73%. One of the, if you're going to be winning this game, that's got to come down at least in half. They can't be converting 75% of their third downs. Defensively, matching up against Texas Tech, we do this for the preview section. I want to just add in some context here. As a unit, Texas Tech has 9 sacks on the season. We'll obviously be tracking that very closely. Height and Bailey are tied at 2.5 each. The team has 19 tackles for loss. You haven't had any real exotic blitzes, so I would expect those numbers to creep up. And as the defensive game plans become a little bit more complex, as your games are going to be a little bit tighter. You've created caught 4 interceptions so far, 1 pick 6. You forced 1 fumble and you recovered 1 fumble. So as units, when Utah has the ball, they are throwing for 227 yards per game at 7.2 yards per attempt. On the ground for 290 a game at 6 yards per carry. Like I said, converting 73% of the third and fourth downs and scoring 45.7 points per game. That's even considering their 31 points this past weekend. Defensively, Texas Tech is allowing 189 yards through the air at 5.5 yards per attempt, 41.3 yards on the ground at 1.5 yards per carry. That is accurate. Checked that math myself. 30% conversion percentage on third and fourth downs, while giving up only 11.7 points per game. Anything you want to touch on with the Utah offense, Michael, before we flip over to the defense?
No, I mean, Texas Tech is, I'm going to be on pace, guy. They are on pace for 36 sacks, having 9 in the first 3 games, which, okay, all right, that's going to slow down. Let's be serious.
Is it?
But fair. We'll find out. But I think the only thing I wanted to mention was just the improvement in that area. I did not go through the box score to see where they came from, but last year, Texas Tech as a team had 21 sacks total. And I feel like this is going to be eclipsed, before the end of October, maybe?
Before the end of September?
Yeah,
no, just kidding.
Maybe.
You have to get 12 sacks the next 2 games.
Yeah, you mentioned that 9 sacks, and I thought that seems high. And according to last year, it is. But like I said, I didn't go through the box score and see if Texas Tech had 9 sacks through the first 3 weeks last year too, and then it fell off. But I don't think that's going to happen this year.
No. So just like the Utah offense versus Texas Tech defense, the Texas Tech offense versus the Utah defense, very similarly rated in terms of S&P Plus rankings. Their defense is 7th. Texas Tech's offense is 4th. So this is where I'm a little bit more concerned, or this is where my focus is. They are led by Morgan Scally, who's been there for a while, also coaches their safeties. It's a 4-3 base, but has a nickel package. They run a lot of stuff out of, so it's going to look like nickel or 4-2-5. It's a zone-heavy scheme. They have what has been what I heard them called was a disruptive defense that creates a lot of turnovers. But let me give you the unit numbers, Michael, and tell me if these sound familiar, okay?
Okay.
They have 9 sacks, 16 tackles for loss, 4 interceptions, 1 returned for a touchdown, 0 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery.
Well, it's
awfully similar to the Texas Tech defensive numbers.
Yeah, that's deja vu all over again.
Even
from 3 minutes ago.
I would give Texas Tech, like you could give Texas Tech the advantage. They have 3 more tackles for loss, 1 forced fumble. But the Utah defense is the one that's credited as being disruptive and creates a lot of turnovers. So I was looking into their tackling leaders, and I pulled their top 10 because I was baffled by it, Michael. The mix of positions, just the further I went, the less sense it made. That's why I went to 10 and stopped. And I also compared the top 10 for Texas Tech. going back for a second, we talked about their 9 team sacks. They're led by defensive end John Henry Daly, who has 5. So they have one guy that has 5. You have 2 guys that have combined for 5. Okay, so tackling leaders by position: defensive end, safety, linebacker, safety, defensive end, linebacker, cornerback, safety, defensive end, corner, defensive end. So of the top 10, you had 5 defensive backs. So like, it was just a really strange mix. Like I kept going back, like, okay, I'll stop there. But then there's then like another defensive back. I was like, well, the point is to show like how many defensive backs are leading tacklers, right? Like that usually indicates an issue with your front. So it's just like a really strange mix to me. If that means anything to somebody else, let me know. On the flip side, for comparison, Tech's leading tackler is John Curry. So a safety linebacker hybrid. He's a linebacker, but he's playing kind of a hybrid safety position, obviously. He has 15 tackles. Their leading tackler, the defensive end, has, I think, 13. Our top 10 list goes by position: linebacker, 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 defensive line, safety, which is Wisniewski, defensive line, defensive line, defensive line, safety, corner. So you only had 3 defensive backs, 4 if you count Curry, but he's not a traditional safety. And even then, 2 of the 3 defensive backs are numbers 9 and 10 on the top 10 list. So just throwing that out there. They're tackling, like I said, their tackling leaders: John Henry Daly, the defensive end, has 13. The safety, Jackson Benny, has 12, also has 2 picks. Linebacker Len Barton has 12. Safety Nate Ritchie has 12. So like the top 4 are all within a tackle of each other. And then defensive end 10, linebacker 9, cornerback 9, safety 8, defensive end 8. They are really good. Like their offense is really good at converting 3rd and 4th downs. Their defense is really good at stopping 3rd and 4th downs. They've allowed 8 of 36 conversions.
Ooh.
But
that's
only
3rd and 4th?
That's only if you count 4th down. They've given up 5 of 7 on 4th down. So if you take out 4th down, Michael.
Oh my gosh, their 3rd down's really something.
There are 3 for 29 on 3rd down. Which
this is very
they've given up 3 conversions on 3rd down.
Rock meets hard place kind of territories where we're at.
Yeah. So just like I did for the Texas Tech defense, I want to give just a place to track Tech offensive leaders, because we do this in the previews, but also just for comparison's sake. Baron Morton completing 70.5% of his passes for 923 yards at almost 11.5 yards per attempt. 11 touchdowns, 1 interception. I've seen the number of 7 quarters be thrown away. I think it's actually maybe closer to 6, but 6 or 7. He's played less than 7 full quarters of football of the 12 possible. And those are the numbers. Adam Hill is your leading running back in terms of yards, not carries, but yards, at 207 on 24 carries, 8.6 yards per carry, 0 touchdowns. He did not add much, if any, this past weekend. Cam Dickey is your leading ball carrier at 38 for 177 yards at 4.7 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns. Jacoby Williams, 28 carries, 158 yards, 5.6 yards per carry, and 2 more touchdowns. Through the air, Coy Aiken has your most receptions and yards, 12 catches for 245 yards at 20.4 yards per catch, which is ridiculous, 3 touchdowns. Next up is TC, Terrence Carter, 10 catches, 194 yards. That's obviously 19.4 yards per catch, 3 more touchdowns. Jacoby Williams sneaky up on this list as your third leading receiver. 11 catches for 150 yards, 13.6 yards per catch and a touchdown. Caleb Douglas, 6 catches for 142 yards. It's 23.7 yards per catch and a touchdown. And then Virgil, 11 catches, 135 yards, 12.5 yards per catch, and 3 touchdowns.
Ooh, 13.
So as a unit, it's 388 passing yards through the year at 10.5 yards per attempt. That obviously yards per attempt does not match the Morton numbers because you've had 2 other quarterbacks play. That's going to change that number. 215 yards on the ground at 5.8 yards per carry, converting 55% of our third and fourth down attempts and scoring 58 points per game in the process. Going up against this defense, though, Michael, they're giving up 134 yards through the year at 5.4 yards per attempt, 90 yards on the ground at 3 yards per carry, 30.2% conversions allowed, and giving up 8.3 points per game. If you compare that to Texas Tech's defense, the Utah defense is allowing 55 fewer yards through the air per game at only 0.1 yards per attempt less than Texas Tech. Texas Tech is giving up almost 50 fewer yards on the ground at half as many yards per carry. Granted, our strength of schedule is worse than the Utah strength of schedule. Their non-conference is, that they had an FCS, Cal Poly. We had FCS and Arkansas Pine Bluff, but their UCLA and Wyoming are a little bit better than our Oregon State and Kent State. So take that with, as you put those together. Comparatively, just because I know those numbers were given quite a bit apart. Baron Morton versus Dampier. Morton's thrown for 923 yards. Dampier's for 628. I don't know how many quarters Dampier's played, but like I said, Morton's only played in almost 7. And he has 300 more yards, 11 touchdowns to 1 interception. Dampier's got the 7 touchdowns, no interceptions. Rushing, again, I say this because it's just statistically true. Adam Hill is your leading rusher at 207 yards. Dampier's at 198. And then leading receiver, Coy Aiken, 12 catches, 245 yards to Ryan Davis, who has 19 catches, so 7 more catches than Aiken, but only 170 yards, whereas Aiken has 245. 3 touchdowns for Aiken, 1 for Davis. The CFB graphs matchup advanced stats has this as a narrow advantage for Texas Tech. I know some places have Utah as a narrow favorite, where you look at the ESPN's FPI or just the betting numbers there. This one that we've used for a couple of years now has a slight favorite here. Win probability for Texas Tech of 53.7 to 46.3 for Utah. Projected points 24.5 for our Red Raiders versus 22.5 for the Utes. Currently, at least as of last night, as we were putting this together, Texas Tech is a 3.5 point dog on the road, over under at 58. Before we get to predictions, Michael, I want to offer up some context here and explain my name tonight as Dew Theory, because I think we look at what Texas Tech and Joey McGuire have done on the road and have not been impressed. And this one's going to be tough. McGuire and the Red Raiders are 6-10 on the road over his career. Really helped, as much as this a 3-2 road record last season really helped, because you were 3 of 3-8 before last season on the road record. This stat came from Kyle. He looked at games outside of the Central Time Zone. Texas Tech is 1-5 on the road outside of the Central Time Zone, and 0-3 in road openers.
Ooh, don't like that.
So your first road game of the season. And then with additional context, it's not that you lost these games, is that you looked bad doing it. Whether it was Wyoming or NC State or Washington State. I think you're due.
NC State's, yeah. NC State's kind of a different animal. Okay. I'm sorry.
Well,
I interrupt you. So you may have to say that again.
I was going to say, I think you're due to flip that. I mean, you had Wyoming in a game where Tyler Shuck was just idiotic and Zach Kittley refused to hand the ball off to your best player. Last season, Washington State, you played without Taj Brooks. And then NC State, I mean, we love Dogovan, but like he was not the best quarterback. But that's where I'm at. I think Utah's going to be a very stout test. And I think the winner of this game is likely going to be one of the participants in the conference championship game at the end of the season. That's how big this game is. I think the way everything else is going on around the conference, and yes, it's only through 3 weeks. I think Kansas State has eased up on your schedule a little bit. I think you look at that, you're not as intimidated by that. I think you look at Arizona State, you're like, yeah, they may be building back, but I don't think I'm as concerned about them. Houston may be a little bit better, but I'm not worried about them. Oklahoma State, trash. UCF, West Virginia, trash. BYU, but you get them at home. You just have this really big road game here. The other thing, though, Michael, I will concede that with the way this schedule is constructed, even if you were to lose this one, you get a bye week. I think you could still win out, depending on how the game looks. If you lose a close game, and there's like a weird turnover, or they just beat you, like they just look like the better team, and there's nothing like weird or fluky. I guess even if there was some kind of weird or fluky thing that led to Texas Tech losing this game, I could still be very convinced that you win everything else on the schedule. So I don't want to live in a world where you only win 11 games. So I'm still going to stick with Texas Tech. I think this is going to be a lower scoring game. I think 58.5. That feels high, but I'm going to go Texas Tech 27, Utah 20. $23.
Oh. Okay. So I came into the season thinking that Utah was I was trying to will it into existence, that they were going to be bad. They were rebuilding a lot of guys in the trenches, at least on one side of the ball, and they brought in a Mountain West backfield with a Mountain West offensive coordinator from a team that's not generally on the scene, so to say, from the land of enchantment. But I've been proven wrong so far. They, aside from one half of looking pretty rough up in Laramie, which we can sympathize with that, they've looked like a really solid team. Their defense is solid. Dampier has really impressed me. And I think that the way they're using him is smart and trying to, one, keep the ball in his hands, but take it out from him when they can and when it makes sense. One thing I did want to bring up a little bit, though, that we haven't talked about was in a game this close, and you just predicted a 4-point win for the Red Raiders. The spread is 3.5 in favor of Utah. They're favored. At least they were yesterday when I checked. So in a game like this, field goals could be important. So Utah is only 2 of 5 on field goals for the year. They were 1-4 last week up in Laramie. All of them were between 43 and 46 yards last week, all 4 attempts. Two were missed. One was blocked. And in a game that's this close, we're seeing an S&P plus. The defense versus the offense is, number 7 Utah defense versus number 4 Tech offense. Number 12, let's see. Overall, number 12 Tech versus number 15 Utah. Offense, 31 Utah versus 40 Tech defense. I mean, this is going to be as close as it can get. And so I think that that's really likely to play a role. We have not seen Texas Tech's offense stumble at all this year. They have not been on the road. I know that.
Yeah.
But, as good as Utah is, they went 35 minutes of game time until they saw the end zone in Laramie. They didn't score their first touchdown until there were 10:46 left in the third. On the other side of that, Texas Tech has had false start issues at home. This has been a problem at home, and this is going to obviously be a lot harder once they hit the road. As much as I like McGuire, I've seen some of those issues worse on the road. The other thing, Dampier is this defense's first true test on a dual threat quarterback. The 3 guys they faced so far have just been mauled and barely able to think before being pressured or having a hand in their face or passes deflected or brought to the ground, you name it. This is a bit of a different set here. So anyway, I'm just here kind of acknowledging how wrong I've been so far about Utah. I'm still going to pick Texas Tech to win, though. And I think it's going to be, I'm a little more optimistic than Spencer on the scoring. I've got Tech winning 31-21. Tech's going to win by 10. Let's do it.
Dude, let's do it.
Let's just go for it. But
let's do it.
All due respect to the Utes in that prediction. I just, to put up a stinker of a half, more than a half in Wyoming, that was kind of we saw the inconsistencies there. This Tech offense, a couple of red zone hiccups versus Kent State. That's really all we can pick at right now. They're averaging 58 points a game. I don't know where to feel bad about that yet. So we'll see. Let's go on the road. Let's keep the good vibes going. Let's go 1-0 this week yet again.
Yeah, got a couple of previews predictions in the chat.
Oh,
here.
Good.
Big Lubbock says Texas Tech 42, Utah 21. 42 feels like a lot of points, but even that's like 3 scores less than your season average right now.
Yeah, who knows what this team can do when they leave their starters in for 4 quarters?
Yeah, that's another thing to consider. Like Barrymore has not had to play all full game. Does that mean the team is not going to be ready? They're not going to be conditioned to play a full game? Like, is that a possibility that you can get up there and just not having played a full game, you're just not ready to play 60 minutes?
Well, the entire team hasn't played 3 full games.
Yeah. But I'd also say that same thing goes for Utah. Now they have had a road game, a true road game. They're coming to playing home now.
Well, they didn't have shortened quarters in week 1.
Yeah,
That's where I was
there
going
was
with that.
There's that too. Last Sunrise didn't give a specific score, but he says someone scores in the 30s for sure. Michael's got Texas Tech scoring. I think you could get there. I look at. I think defense typically gets the advantage over offense. Especially talk about the home defense versus the traveling offense. I think they're going to be closer to what the home defense typically does versus what the road offense brings. Again, considering this is Texas Tech's first road game. So I'm willing to concede like the Utah defense may bring the Texas Tech offense down more than the inverse of that.
Yeah, my counter to that is, brother, this Texas Tech defense is going to travel. They're going to be ready. It's going to be 11 a.m. for them. That's nothing. All these folks up in the great city, Utah.
Yeah.
No, I know, but it's 11 a.m. local. Heart time.
Oh.
West Texas time. It's 11
Yeah.
a.m. So they're set. They're fine. All these Utah folks belly aching about missing their kids' sports or whatever. Like, what time do your kids' sports play? Is this your first year? Good luck. You got like 16 more years of this. This is how it works. You hear me every week talk about well, and that's what's happening this week. So my beloved Queen Bees, I think they play at 2:30, or 1:30, which might be the worst possible time. But hey, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be rooting for the Queen Bees.
Yeah, you're gonna have the game second half on your phone.
I may or may not have an earbud in with the old school radio, so I don't have to even rely about streaming. I just want to be able to just plug in. But anyway, yeah, get it together. This is how this works. I can't imagine. I've just seen that on Twitter, and it just blows my mind. What are all of your kids' games at 10 in the morning?
They just complain about anything they can find.
Ours are all over the place. Like, yeah, I mean, my kid, she plays anywhere between 10 and 4:30 this season. There's 8 Saturdays. You have no idea. That was forfeited, by the way, on Saturday. But the forfeit didn't count because then they canceled the game. Because the other team was trying to forfeit. Because they were set to start right when Texas Tech was set to start. So the same storm that rolled through Lubbock that delayed the Tech game, delayed all the games at Burrell Huffman. And so, yeah, most of those got rescheduled. Everything past 3 o'clock. Sorry, I skipped ahead. That's the Queen Bee soccer update. We'll continue.
All right, you're good. All right. We do it every week. I'm going to read you some new reviews. If it's your first time listening, we very much encourage you to drop us a review over on Apple Podcast. It will be a promo for this at the very end of the show. We got a new one on Sunday, Michael. A must listen for any Red Raider is the title of this review. Love the thorough explanation and analysis of Texas Tech sports. I listen while carpooling my kids around from drop-off to extracurriculars. Y'all do a great job of breaking down the game, and the previews are wonderful. Yeah, what you just heard, wonderful. The check-in of other Texas Tech sports are an added bonus and has made me now follow Red Raider soccer. Way to go, Michael. And Lady Raiders much closer in the last season. Thanks for all you do. We talked about I married into this. Oh, thank you. That was from MD Wilson.
Man, that's awesome. I'm glad we're able to keep. I hope they don't listen to the instant reactions too much while carting the kids around, because sometimes Spencer gets a little R-rated on those instant reactions.
If there's something to be R-rated tomorrow, but like not this season, brother, not this one.
Yeah, not so far. We're chill. We're chill vibes. Chill, cool. Couple of cool bros.
Your review could be read on the next podcast if you leave us a 5-star review and explain what you love about the show. All right, let's look around the rest of the Big 12 this weekend. There's just one Friday night game, and then a handful of games that are off. So not a ton of games. Big 12 play is starting, so It condenses the number of games we're going to talk about. Friday night, Tulsa at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State is somehow a 13-point favorite. I don't see how that is.
Hammer Tulsa.
Give me Tulsa for sure. Maybe even money line, man.
Yeah.
But for sure to cover 13. Wait, one more thing on the Utah game before we move on. I got this one from J.A. Ron. If Utah gets any kind of pressure on Morton, it's going to be a long day. His PFF grade is alarming. Yeah, I mean, we saw that they have a really good defensive end in John Henry Daly. But you've got great tackles. His poise in the pocket so far, very much untested, except he's had those two bad throws, or he had a bad throw and an interception and then the intentional grounding. So you want to get that cleaned up, but you also have great defensive line. You just need to make sure that your rush doesn't then break open, huge rushing lanes for Dampier to run away from. All right. Saturday's games. SMU at TCU. TCU is a 6.5-point favorite, 11 a.m. kick on ESPN2.
I'm taking the Frogs.
I think TCU got this one.
Yeah, I do too.
This one's got me laughing a little bit, and I don't even make sense. And so, I would lean towards the pearl of wisdom from the solid verbal here. If you don't get the line, lean into it. It doesn't make sense, lean into it. North Carolina at UCF. UCF is a nearly touchdown favorite.
You think the fight in Belichick's bounce back? Is that what you're saying?
No, I think I don't know what they know here, but I think UCF is, man, it doesn't make sense to me. But that to me tells me okay, they know something I don't. Give me the Knights -6.5.
Give me Unk.
West Virginia at Kansas. Kansas is a 2-touchdown favorite on FS1, 5 p.m. I don't know what West Virginia is, but that may have just been a fluke with the Pitt game. What were you going to say?
No, I'm taking West Virginia plus 13.5. I don't know what we've seen. I mean, Kansas looks decent, but I don't see enough of a disparity there for a 2-touchdown dog.
Okay. BYU -7.5 on the road at East Carolina, 6:30 on ESPN2.
Oh, give me the Cougars all day. They're covering that. They're going to win by 21.
Arizona State at Baylor. Baylor's getting 2.5. 6:30 on Fox.
I'd take it. I think
Baylor's State falter here. Yeah.
I think Baylor's pretty good still, even with their hiccup against Auburn.
Another Big 12 game versus Wyoming. This time Wyoming in Boulder take on Colorado. Colorado -13.5. Give me Wyoming to cover. Because Colorado sucks.
This is going to be Colorado's get right game. They're going to cover. Win by 2 tutties.
So
the elevation in Boulder is just, it's too hard for the
air is going to be so much denser. They're not going to know how to breathe. It'll be too thick.
Too hard for folks from Laramie to comprehend.
Arizona, Cincinnati, Houston, Iowa State, and Kansas State are all off this week. Other notable games on the schedule, Michael. Auburn at Oklahoma.
Sure. Sounds good.
Michigan at Nebraska.
Those are good names.
Was it just a name game for you? Is that what you picked?
Yeah, kind of. Really, the last time I did this, I thought all the matchups were weak, and then they turned out to be awesome games. So I'm trying to be a little more optimistic. But honestly, the Auburn at Oklahoma, I just still like rooting against Oklahoma. So that's why I'm going to be paying attention to that one.
Sure. I like Auburn. So.
Oh, there we go.
Host of game day this week, Florida at number 4, Miami was one I picked out. And
Give me the
then,
U.
yeah, I
By
think
3 tutties.
I think Lagway and Napier are just in over their heads. And then another possible location for game day, except that it's in Big Ten country, number 9. How do they get here? Illinois at number 19, Indiana.
Pass.
The top 20 matchup is like snooze fest.
Who
cares?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good for them. Good
But
for them.
I just pulled
Someone's
that one out.
Someone's going to win 13-11.
Yeah. All right. That's all I had for football for this week. We'll be doing our instant reaction on Saturday after the game. Let's do some. You want to talk about soccer since we actually just mentioned them?
Yes. So soccer has been on a kind of a weird schedule. So they've just pretty much had one game a week for the last 3 weeks. And I thought, well, we're usually going so long anyway, so I'll just kind of hold off till they get to where they're opening Big 12 play. Well, I have a very good update. Texas Tech soccer is 6-1. Since we last talked about them a few weeks ago, they've gone on a 3-0 run. This is the first time they've been 6-1 overall to start the year since 2019. So a really good start. Those wins include a 2-0 win at home versus SMU in late August. They went on the road to Las Cruces, took down New Mexico State 2-0, and then hosted Utah State just this past Sunday. And after being down 1-0, they answered right back, I think within 5 minutes or so, with an equalizer. And so at 55 minutes, they scored their first goal. It was 1-1, and then 75 minutes into the game, they scored the second one and ended up winning that one at home. So that's the wrap for the non-conference schedule. They head to Baylor this Friday, 7 p.m. Baylor is 5-0 with 2 ties, so they are undefeated. And then Texas Tech hosts Houston next Thursday, the 25th. Houston is also 5-0 and 2, also undefeated. Net games at 7 p.m. if you're in Lubbock and able to make it. Both of these games should be on ESPN Plus, especially now that we're in Big 12 season. So again, if you can watch it, Friday, September 19th at Baylor, 7 p.m. Thursday, September 25th versus Houston at 7 p.m. That's here in Lubbock. And, just as a rankings update, Texas Tech was ranked early on, and then they had the audacity to lose a road game during the middle of a road stretch where they were on the West Coast for like 4 days. And so they have yet to creep back into the rankings. So I'm still checking them. They did at least receive a singular vote this week. So they're being mentioned at 6-1. But I don't understand soccer, Spencer. Maybe you can explain this to me. But Arkansas, as of the 7th, because they take a while to update these. Let me see if I looked at this the other day. Let me see if they've updated it. Okay. Oh, wow. Arkansas still in the top 10. So, Texas Tech has 11 votes. Okay, they take their sweet time updating this. So when I looked at this yesterday, this was not updated, but it is now. Texas Tech is technically 26th right now.
Okay.
So that's good. Arkansas is the Notre Dame of soccer, apparently. They are 3-2-2 and are number 10 in the country. And the week before that, they were 2-2-2 and number 9. So I don't know who they've played. I'm not going to go into who they've played. I don't care. But that's just ridiculous. You're ranked above teams that are 5-1-2, 6-1, 6-1, 7-1, 6-1, 7-2. Anyway, they must be the Notre Dame of soccer. So, as always, listen to Seeing Scarlet, part of the Staking the Plains network here. A lot more in-depth analysis on the soccer squad, interviews with players, interviews with coaches, and just an overall great time. So be sure and check them out.
Need to double check on that network status, though, Michael.
It's good. If we just say it, it's fine.
We just claim it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're like Arkansas. We'll just, I don't know. We'll just call ourselves. We'll be number 10 in the country. Why not? We've won 3 games this year. We've won 3 games out of 7. Number 10 in the country. You bet. And what's funny, they're tied with 5-1-1 BYU. BYU was really good last year. They knocked Texas Tech out of the Big 12 title race at the end of the year. So, but sure, yeah, 3-2-2 Arkansas is just as good as a 5-1-1 BYU team. Why not? Why not?
All right, I've got 2 design questions for you, Michael.
Oh boy.
1, did you see the new basketball court design that Todrick Gocher may have mistakenly leaked?
Yes, it's got the flat double T.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I
What
have
are your
seen
thoughts
that.
on that?
Big fan. Enjoy it quite a bit. I do not remember what the lanes look like. I think they were just black, but I really don't remember. The main thing I remember is just the big red double T at half court.
I think they
That
were
was
just
a few
normal.
days ago when I saw it.
Yeah, I don't remember the lane standing out, but for some
I don't
reason,
either.
like they may have just been like barely darkened, like just stained a little bit darker. 'Cause I don't remember them standing out like they were painted.
I really liked the stained look that they had a few years ago.
That. Yeah.
That's so sharp.
And the stained like the stained outline of the state of Texas.
Yeah, I enjoyed that too. I do think that A&M does that too, I believe. I don't know if they do a stain. Of course, they do the Texas where like the panhandle almost runs into the scoring table.
Yeah, it like runs.
Brownsville is in the 3rd row, so like they
3-point line to 3-point line.
Yeah, as big as the Texas could possibly get. Yeah, El Paso's on the baseline.
It is a great state.
Yeah.
I don't know why like you're trying to like gatekeep that. Like it's out there now. Just go ahead and announce it and show it off. But
people are gonna love it. Good by you, Todrick.
Except for like it would just get lost with Texas Tech, like with football. Maybe it'll come out in the bye week. I don't know. I'm also a big fan. I like the 3D double T. I'm not like I don't have to get rid of it. I'm not like beholden to like having to have the flat double T. I think they both look good. I think they have their spots, but I don't know. I'm not as opposed to the 3D as a lot of other Redditor fans are, but I've been told I don't know uniforms, so it's okay. Speaking of uniforms, did you see the Mahomes all white designs that got released intentionally this week?
You talk about timing. I'm interested why this came out this week. Texas Tech is about to head to a bye week. That seems like a great time to put out some all white uniforms with chrome/silver. What'd they call them? Galvanized?
Yeah.
Instead of galvanized.
Galvanized.
All right.
I like the all white look. I like the play on what you did last year versus Colorado when you have the dark gray and silver.
I like these better.
Look.
I definitely like these better.
I think this all white version's better. You will be wearing this at home versus BYU, who will wear all blue.
Gosh, their uniforms are so sharp.
I don't like their royal though.
Oh, I do. I love their blue.
I like their navy. I like their navy and white. I don't like royal. Not that it matters because they're not my team, but yeah, I said it. They're not my team.
Well,
I may be a member of that church, but that's not my team. Those aren't my colors.
Speaking of royal blue, I have an update. I didn't know if you wanted to run the what did we learn thing first.
We'll just roll right into it now that we're talking about
Okay.
disappointing Blues.
So here's what I learned. Cowboy Stadium is incredible. We were here earlier this week, as we talked, and my wife, unbeknownst to me, had been looking into taking a tour of Cowboy Stadium.
Okay.
Because she was really excited to learn about it, because she's all into like the logistics of things and you know how stuff works, especially how events work and all that kind of thing. And she just kind of mentioned, she's like, "Hey, I've got an idea. It's kind of different from what we normally do. What if we go tour Cowboy Stadium?" And like before she finished saying it, I said, "Okay, yeah, that sounds great.
Yep,
Please, I'm in." And so Friday morning we go and we take a tour, and it's like 2 hours, and we were just fascinated the whole time. The people on that tour, Spencer, were from Australia. We had some Australians on the tour. We had a father and son from Ireland who were the most stereotypical Irish-looking guys you could think of.
Nice.
I mean, picture someone with my complexion, only a few shades lighter, with the reddest hair you've ever seen. And then also a couple from Austria.
Nice.
So, like, of the 10 or 15 people that were on this tour, almost half of them were from out of the country, because we kind of take for granted how big of a deal the Dallas Cowboys are. And a lot of it's just oversaturation and you know, disappointment and all that with it. Everything that comes with being a Cowboys fan or even an adjacent Cowboys follower.
Yep.
So, but then, you know, folks show up from all over the world to take a tour of Cowboy Stadium. And it was so cool. We learned so much cool stuff about how it was built. The two big arches that support the roof is just fascinating. I've gone on like a deep dive on Eiffel designs and bridge building, because that's where that arch concept was first developed, was over a river. I forget where it was, but they basically built a giant arch, and they support everything off of these two arches to keep any sort of pillars from supporting the roof or, you know, obstructing views or anything like that. We got to go to the locker rooms. We got to go to the not the broadcast booth, but the press booth, the press box. We got to go there. We got to go out on the field. We walked out where the players walk out. It was just such a cool event. And so hats off to all the architects and the engineers that built that thing, because, you know, I've talked about it 20 times, but I am a Cowboys fan, but not like, if they ever really did something great or special, I don't feel like I could truly revel in it, because it's not like I've been down in the trenches with everybody. But I would enjoy it. I'd be happy for everybody. I also get a sick pleasure of when they're bad, or when they trade Micah Parsons or do something crazy like that.
So stupid.
Which there were a lot of Micah Parsons shirts still in the fan shop, which kind of surprised me. But anyway, it was really cool. Those of you who live in the DFW area, if you even if you're not a Cowboys fan, I think you'll really enjoy it. 90% of the tour was just about the stadium and everything that the stadium does. And oh man, it was so interesting too. They're hosting the World Cup this year, and so a lot of the discussion was about the natural grass that they had engineered that will be able to grow in that dome, because that was a FIFA requirement. And how they're going to bring it in, and how they're going to have these special UV lamps that will be over the grass like 21 hours a day whenever they're not playing on it. They're going to water it, they're going to mow it, they're going to do everything just like you would with normal grass. It's going to be installed for 8 or 9 games, I think, this summer. They've used it for a couple of soccer matches there, kind of as a test, and things went really well. Anyway, I'll stop. It's great. If you have the chance to go, it's a lot of fun. You don't even have to be a Cowboys fan to enjoy it. But if you are, you'll enjoy it just a little bit more.
Speaking of touring professional stadiums, if you're in the Metroplex, also should check out the new ballpark the Rangers play. We went on that tour, Samantha, Grace, and I did a few years back, and it was really impressive. It was a small group. I think there was 3 of us. I think there was one more small group of another 2 or 3. So, not that we got to go anywhere differently because of our small group, but we did go on the field. We played catch on the field for a few minutes. We took lots of photos. Had a good time. The coconut husk in the turf, I think, is really fascinating. That takes the place of like the rubber pellets that you would see in like a football turf. It's more of a natural surface feel and response to it, but got a couple of world-class stadiums in. You give it a press conference. You welcoming Micah Parsons back to the Cowboys like nothing happened.
Please come back. Please come back. Yeah, so we got to go.
The new general manager.
Yep. We got to go to where they do all the interviews and stuff, and they let us take photos standing at the podium. So of course I did, and I was wearing my Texas Tech shirt.
Nice,
just to throw that in there. But yeah, that it was really cool being able to see. It's Globe Life, right? Where the Rangers play.
Yes. Sorry,
being
I
able
blanked
to
that name, but yeah,
being able to see that, even while we were on the tour, and the guy that gave the tour talked about it, and I think he goes to the Rangers games quite a bit and stuff. So there's Terrence Steele's locker. Took a photo of that.
Nice. Had to look up for a second.
But yeah, it was just really, all the facts that they share with the size of the arches. I think the arches, and the next time you look at Cowboy Stadium, it'll stick out like a sore thumb. I had noticed them before, but didn't really fully understand how unique it was. But yeah, those arches run. They're as long as the Empire State Building is tall, because everything has to be compared to the Empire State Building.
Because that's a great point of reference for us Texans.
Yes. So that's always what we want to hear.
Yeah.
But
all right,
it was cool. What do you got there? Oh yeah.
So this is back when we went down to go take pictures on the field at the. Is that really bright?
Yeah, it's really it's hard for me to. I don't know what.
Well, that's Samantha and Grayson playing catch on the field.
Yes.
That's us down there outside the dugout. It's one of our favorite photos of him. Now, granted, this is 4 years ago, so this is not what he looks like at all now.
Well, I found out really quickly. I don't know, how Ricky Bobby doesn't know what to do with his hands. Put a 42-year-old man on a football field and tell him to pose for a photo. You're like, I don't even know where to stand.
Just point at the big screen.
I had my wife take a picture with the goalposts behind me, because I was like, I don't know, get the goalposts in there. I'm not. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so I stood there awkwardly like this. Just stood there. I was like, I don't want to give a guns up. That seems weird here.
That's all right.
But anyway, I just stood there like a doofus, because there were other people doing cool photos, or they were on the star, and I was like, I don't know what to do.
If you had a football, you could have spiked the ball in the star, like was that Owens that did that?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, baseball, I feel like there's a lot more opportunities, get on the pitcher's mound. You can stand behind home
Oh,
plate.
they didn't let us on the infield at all. It was like roped off.
Oh, I get it. Okay.
So we'd be on the outfield, but
Yeah, we could go anywhere. It was really cool. And they just said, yeah, because that was where the tour ended. So they just kind of, the tour guide said, all right, these folks will help you out whenever you're ready. Just stay down here and hang out as long as you want. And then I'll see you later. I got another tour. So anyway, he was great. And so, yeah, we obviously didn't stay very long because, like I said, we don't know what to do. But a lot of people did. They were still hanging out and taking photos and throwing football around. And I was just really impressed with the place. And I've been there, but for events. And so I didn't get to experience it empty and really get to appreciate all the pieces of it. And the fact that they can drive like semi trucks around the bottom of it, just completely in a circle around it if they need to.
I've been there for a couple of Texas Tech Baylor games, but
right. I randomly had tickets for a Kenny Chesney concert once. I did get to see a Cowboys game there once. But then, yes, the other 2 times were for Tech Baylor. Yeah, I didn't get to appreciate the stadium at that moment because Tech wasn't playing well, and I didn't really want a $9 Miller Lite.
Yeah. All right. I feel like I do need to address the room. I got this laptop stand, so the camera's a little bit higher. You can see more behind me. It's a mess of boxes, and this is our life in this new house is boxes. You never got to see the piano in the other house because it was in the dining room. And this, technically, what this room is in this house, dining room, but it's a piano for my grandmother. We love her, still alive, but we got one of her pianos, and then we just have boxes, lamps, wall decor. We actually had a friend. We commissioned a friend to paint this. It's like a collection of Disney quotes and sayings that we put outside the boys' room in the other house. Just boxes, man. Got boxes on boxes. You don't see a stack of boxes right over here.
Y'all moved a piano 9 hours to Corpus. Bless you.
Let me tell you something, Michael. My mom.
Bless you. I've moved pianos before. That is a undertaking.
So my mom arranged for us to have this piano, and she arranged for it to come in like end of April. And it was like,
we're
Mom,
about to have to.
let me tell you something. Is I'm in the final stages of a move or of a job interview process that will, if I get this job, we will be moving. She's like, oh, I wish I would have known that. I was like, well,
so do I.
I didn't want to. Yeah. So she had it shipped to us from Jackson, Mississippi.
Oh my goodness.
And it sat in our other house for, well, I guess it was technically there for 3 months. It was there from like April until we closed and moved out of the house in July. And then moved it down here. And now it's down here with us.
Good job. Good job on moving one of those uprights, because I know those front legs are just kind of there for show. You can't really depend on those to help you too much. You've got to.
It is on wheels though. That it did help a little bit, but
oh, I've seen too many overconfident movers snap those legs just because they're
clean.
No, it's fine. No,
Snap.
No, those are not fine. Those were not designed by the Cowboy Stadium engineers.
Anywho's, that'll do it for us here on the 23 Personnel Podcast. We will be back on Saturday to recap the Texas Tech victory over the Utah Utes. Tell you how they did it, and then get you ready for next week's game. We'll be back next week to then not preview the matchup with Houston because we're on a bye week. But we'll be back on Saturday for the post-game instant reaction. For Michael, I'm Spencer. We'll catch you guys next time.
Thank you for listening to the 23 Personnel Podcast. Help us out by subscribing, rating the show, and leaving a review. Follow us on Twitter at 23 Personnel, Spencer at Punt Suck, and Michael at Michael_LBK. Be sure to catch the next episode. And until then, guns up, and let the tortillas fly.